So welcome back to another episode of the Marriage and Real Estate Podcast. I am your host, Kevin Shelton, missing my co-host this episode. But this episode is all about the men.
Yeah.
So this is our Black Men Buy Homes episode. And I am so excited to welcome our amazing guest, as well as panelists for the event and host. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves because I'm not going to do all that. Yes. So we'll start off with Andre and then go around.
Yes. Hey, everyone. This is Andre Barra with Yes to Real Estate. Super excited to be here next to all the legends in the room. And we have great information for you today. So thank you.
All right. My name is Chris Senegal. I'm a real estate investor, specifically focused on social impact work, specifically in our neighborhoods that are going through gentrification. Just happy to be a part of the panel.
Tyron McDaniel from Houston, Texas with Houston Vintage Homes and Development. And just like my other brothers, excited about this event and being able to share information.
I shouldn't even really be here. I'm a mentee. They are mentors. I'm just happy to be in the building to learn more. I'm so baby in the process of real estate, but I'll be official. I'm the Mad Hatter. Used to be a host of a morning show. Now I'm just chilling. Got me a baby, having a great time with that, but actually operations manager over at KTSU, content director for The Vibe, and just happy to be here with all these accomplished brothers. And that's the first thing that got him in trouble because he wanted to do something for the brothers, and some people didn't like that.
A lot of people didn't like that. So
just jump straight in.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Now I will say this, and I'm not like formal at all, and half the time my podcast etiquette is not there, so I'm just gonna be talking and y'all figure that out.
100%.
Now I call you Tyrone all the time. Is
100%.
it Tyron or Tyrone? And
I answer to all of it. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
What's your mama call you?
No, it's Tyron.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I'm going to correct myself because if you
Man,
call me
they make
Kevon,
a
I'd be like, bro.
Nah, not at all.
All right. So I'll make sure I
But I
get
ain't
you.
do. Hey, you didn't say. Come on, bro. It's
No,
Tyrone.
I get it.
But it's your
I
name.
definitely want to make
It's
sure.
your name.
Your
100%.
name is your name.
Yeah.
And in the streets, your name is your name.
Hey, listen. As long as the check cash.
Well,
That is true.
Yeah.
It's spelled the same on a check.
Exactly.
True that.
No E on it, though, right?
No, it's no E.
No E. Yeah. Yeah.
Is that the difference? Would that
Yeah,
make the difference?
Exactly. Like, I mean, most people that pronounce their name Tyrone is Tyrone. My name is Tyrone. And honestly, my dad is who named me, and he corrected me, you know, because I'd allow people to say Tyrone, you know, no big deal to me. He said, "That's not your name. I named you this for a
Nah,
reason."
you got to correct
like
people.
that.
What if your dad,
You know,
your
needless
dad
to say.
corrected you?
Yeah,
Because
no.
people, you got to correct.
100%.
Yeah.
What does your name
Ronald
mean?
or something?
Do you know what your name means?
No, it wasn't from me. It was an actor that he liked named Tyrone Powers. And so he was like, you're obviously not going to be him. So I'm you know how, you know, some of us, we want to put our own little twist. So his little twist, I'm going to drop the E and make it sound a little bit better than Tyrone. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I was like, all right, daddy.
Look,
I'm in Fifth Ward.
Yeah, whatever you say.
the power
Tyrone,
of a
come here.
father, though. The power of
Man,
a
my
father.
daddy said my name Tyrone.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, and I appreciate all that.
No worries.
So to give background on how we got here and how this event was created, I had an idea years ago, just from my experience buying my first home and understanding the power of ownership. And Aisha bought her first house at 23, and I didn't buy my first house till 30. So for me, once I understood, okay, I could buy, and I started buying and I learned more about real estate, I bought 5 homes my first year. But it took that long to understand.
Right.
And one of the stories, and I don't think I've shared this on the podcast, but I'll share it with you guys and we can talk a little bit more about it. When I was 19, my aunt, who's a realtor, tried to get me to buy a home in South Union, in a cul-de-sac street, and it's right by Q's old house. And literally that house was $9,000. And there was $1,000 down, a FHA loan. My mortgage would have been like $200.
Dang.
And that dirt alone now at a 7,700 square foot lot, 200 grand.
Easy.
Yeah.
And that wealth I didn't get, right? It was 11 years later that I bought my first home. And what that would have done for me financially would have been stability, giving me the ability to make long-term decisions. I would have been able to take more riskier jobs, all the different things that come from having a stable base, because housing is one of the largest expenses that you have, right? And for Black men, what we're not seeing is the other part of the picture, right? Like, look at a situation where, and this is a question for the panel I'll lead into. Look at a situation where if a woman owns a home, because Black women are out buying Black men 2 to 1, and you get pregnant, who's the odd man out, right? If the woman has a stable job, a stable home, and can make long-term financial decisions, and then you come in the picture, you don't own nothing.
Right.
You may or may not have a stable job. You might be trying to figure it out or whatever.
Right.
And then y'all get pregnant and you start acting up. Who's out the door?
Right.
You the removable piece. We were stable. We good. I'll take the baby and we'll go. That's what's happening to our Black families. That's what's happening to our neighborhoods. And when you look at the statistics, it shows economically.
Right.
It shows as far as employment decisions. Black women make more money than us. They have better jobs than us. And statistically, we're just moving down and down the list. And it starts with housing. And there's a lot of things on the internet that say you don't need to own your home or rent everywhere and whatever. And what they're not accounting for is what we need as a community is stability.
100%.
Right?
Can I say something?
Yeah, please.
Don't you all think that that's a society issue? I think that we've been programmed to believe that women go out there, do your thing, particularly in our community, and Black men kind of, it seems to me, society is, I call them the powers that be, seem to perpetuate a story of the Black man who can't take care of family, who's not building wealth, and we start believing these, I don't want to say fabrications, but we start making those things reality. You know what I'm saying? Perpetuating, I don't want to call it a myth, but Black men can't do this, and they're not doing that. And Black women, they've been pushed to, we don't need a Black man. I'm independent. In the music and what we see in television, it just seems to me that society is programming certain other members of society to think a particular way. And that's also another reason, in my opinion, why some of that is also happening, because there has to be a societal issue if you see Black men not, because I know you say that often, that Black men are not buying homes. And I'm like, what's the real issue as to why we're not? Because I see Black men like you, and you are doing it, and you're doing it on a big scale. I mean, you're really scaling large. So are you guys just the very, very few?
Yes.
And that could be the case. And that's why you're doing the event.
I'm sorry.
Right.
That happens to be true, right? Here's the craziest part about it. Countless stories of the same situation that I went through, having an opportunity to buy, not making the decision to buy, and then you're with a family or a woman who then inspires you to buy,
100%.
right? And it's years later down the road. So you're right. There are some societal pieces that are happening and kind of pushing us in different directions, but it's also us not making the decision. And I've had a lot of conversations individually with Black men at various stages of life, and the conversation's always the same. I'm not ready right now.
Right.
When I get a girlfriend and when I know what I want to do, when I whatever. But you're paying rent somewhere.
Right.
And the whole time you're losing that opportunity year after year after year after year. And that's the difference between what Black women are doing and what Black men are doing.
What was the difference with these guys then? What makes you different than the other brothers that are afraid, or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When did you start to? I'm just curious.
So I agree with Kevin. So when I met my wife, shout out to Joanne, right? When I met her, we stayed in an apartment. And I was the one who said, hey, she was ready to buy a house. I was like, hey, look, I got fired from my job one time and I lost everything. I'm not ready to buy a house yet. So look, let's invest our money and buy some properties. Right. So we took the angle of buying rental properties first. So if I was to lose my job, then we still can afford this home. Right. So I was trained growing up, you can't afford a home. Always plan for the worst when buying a home. Right. So I just got around people who kind of engineer my mindset, bought the rentals, and then we bought a home. But it was pressure from my wife to buy a home. If it wasn't for her, I was not going to buy.
But you paying rent though.
Yeah. I agree with you. You paying rent.
Did you miss a rent payment?
No, I did not. No, I did not.
It's the same thing.
Right.
But I'm glad that I did
strange
listen to my wife.
mindset.
Yeah.
Because by listening to her, 6 years ago, we was able to buy our first house, and within 6 years, we had over $120,000 in equity in 6 years. So what if I would have done it 10, 15 years ago? How much
compounding
equity I left
effect.
on the table?
100%.
I think part of it might be the psychology that we have as men as well, because we're financially responsible for everything. So you're paying all the bills, you're paying for the dates, you're paying for everything. And on top of that, now I got to save up enough for a down payment on a mortgage and keep those payments up every month too. Then you got maintenance, you got taxes, you got insurance, you got all these other things you got to think about. So it is a harder decision, I think, sometimes for a male to get on that. Now, I bought my first house fresh out of college at 22.
See, he's not the norm.
Yeah.
That's true.
So what made you different?
Actually, my job made me different. They gave me a moving package because I had already been working for them. Part of the moving package was down payment assistance on the house. So at 22, I bought a house in a gated neighborhood in Memphis when I lived there.
So I think for me, and this is kind of interesting because I was having a conversation with my son, and I was showing him some things, my old yearbook from high school. And it shows, right, well, it shows where my focus was. And so for me, my focus wasn't to get out and be most productive and, become a homeowner and things of that nature early on. Whereas my wife had a different mindset. Now, we purchased our home. Now, I got married fairly early, but so we ended up purchasing a home at 25, but it was based on her unction and wanting a house. She was already a realtor, had been looking at properties. And so we rented an apartment and then eventually bought a home. So it was, I think I fall into a category, a lot of brothers, I was most interested in having a bad whip. That was my first thing. You know what I mean?
spend a lot of money on cars.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was what my focus was. I had a Cadillac in high school. Okay, I want to go get me a Farah. You know what I'm saying? That was what was important to me. So right out of high school, I go buy a $35,000 vehicle with a $700 payment. Whereas that could have been
A mortgage
3
and
of
a
those
house.
houses that Kevin didn't buy. So
True.
right. So it's like, some of us grew up in environments where we weren't taught or educated, which isn't an excuse because I read a lot of books, but I just didn't make home ownership one of my initial focuses.
But if you grew up in a household that did, I bet you would have had that.
Yes.
house.
Well, which leads to part of the reason why I'm in real estate, because I remember the challenges that my mom went through to buy a house. And so it wasn't like I wasn't in an environment. So I had exposure to it. But the reality of the matter is sometimes we are exposed to the right information and still make the wrong decision. You know what I mean? And so I can say that it wasn't like I didn't know. I had some understanding. My father owned homes, you know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like I didn't have examples, but we don't always follow the right advice or examples that we're presented with. That's just the reality of the matter. So you may have there are people that were probably in Chris's scenario where they got a relocation package. Everyone didn't make the decision to buy like he did. There were some that said, well, you know what? I know I got this package. I'm going to forego that money and just keep renting.
GS Lexus.
Well, I did. You know what I mean?
we can make it happen. Relocate me into an apartment and let me buy this whip.
Straight up.
I mean, how many big body Benzes and BMWs do we see outside the CUNY homes?
Yeah.
A bunch of them.
Literally.
I refuse to acknowledge that statement. As true as it may be.
No,
Right.
I mean, what about you? When did you buy your first?
I got lucky. I was dating a young lady, and her parents were very, what's the word? Their mindset was different. They owned homes and businesses. And I'm like, I end up in the perfect place. Another 5 years from now, I'm off this radio and I'm just going to buy up this whole town following her parents' footsteps. And they just threw it out there. Hey, Ben, you should get these 2 homes. Why would I do that? You just should. Okay. And literally that's how it started. I didn't understand the importance of it. It just seemed by watching them, they were great role models. It seemed by watching them having properties and owning things was the right thing to do. But my little brain didn't understand the concept to why, but it seemed in the prices of the 2 homes was such great prices. I'm like, I think I can afford to have these homes and make these payments and still live a comfortable life. And so I did. And then I'm one of those kind of people, I like everything to be paid off. So then I started paying everything off. So all the homes that I have now are all paid off. And most people tell you,
That's all.
I don't know if that's a clap.
Nah,
Because
100%.
y'all know I'm into social media. There's a lot of dudes on Instagram saying that that's bad. You should have debt and all this. But I'm one of those kind of guys. I'm a Dave Ramsey guy. I just don't.
Oh,
I
boy.
don't.
But here's the thing: it's based on where you are and where your position is, and
I just
what
didn't
you feel
want
comfortable
that.
with.
And I always felt like, if I got these, and I probably could have still sold the home and made money, but if anything would have happened bad at my job, I still had these homes and I could liquidate those and still have some cash.
And let me interject just to that point. A lot of times what I see us do, and people do it with cross cultures, is we buy into other people's philosophies without buying into the lifestyle associated with that. You see what I'm saying? So there are people that say, yeah, you should have debt and this, that, and the third. But for a person like yourself, that doesn't even fit your risk profile.
You
You
sure
see what I'm
right.
saying? So it's less about what works good for this guy, and it's more about being self-aware with who you are and what are your drivers and detonators, and being congruent with
I'm
that.
glad
So
you
I
said-
applaud
Thank
you
you.
for
Thank you,
Yeah.
man. Made
having
me
your
feel
free and clear
better.
property. Yeah, I got
Social media be making me feel bad, man.
There's a couple of themes here, and I don't know if you guys noticed, right? So out of the 5 of us, 80%, so the 4 of us were all influenced by a woman to buy our first home.
100%.
And only 20%, one man
Wow,
out
I
of
did
5.
not even notice that I was one of you 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
So
was because of the one-
but look at the
Right.
theme.
Right.
And that theme is shown true because the second biggest buyer is families.
Right.
Like
Right.
a couple, right? So
Which
who's
this
the-
validates the reason this validates the reason for this event.
Mhm.
100%.
Because what we're finding is where we're leaving off in that wealth journey, in that transfer of information, whether we have the right influences or not,
100%.
is we're leaving money on the table, right? For years and years on end. So when we buy that car and then we wait 10 years to buy that house,
Right.
it's not the cost of the car or the cost of the house in year 1.
Right.
It's the loss over that 10-year span of
compound
time.
effect.
That $9,000 house that I didn't buy that would
Right.
be worth $200,000,
100%.
right? And what that does for us. So if I was to want to inspire anybody for this event specifically, it's what does having that money in your pocket do for you,
Yeah.
right? What does having that economic stability do for you over the lifespan of
Exactly.
10 years, 15 years? Because at the end of the day, you're going to pay rent and you're not going to miss a payment,
Gonna do it.
right? You're going to buy the car anyway.
Right.
All I'm saying is buy the house first. And I remember when I was 18, I did an internship in Belize, and I met one of 50 Cent's friends. I think I might have told you this story.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was there celebrating his honeymoon or whatever, and he was telling me how when 50 Cent first got his first deal, he set all his friends down, and he was like, hey, we going legit. We got to figure this out. So this one particular friend picked real estate, and his wife got her master's and whatever. But he was drilling into my mind. He was like, buy the house first. He's like, buy the house first, then buy the cars. Buy the house first, then do the trips. Buy the house first, then whatever. Because once you buy the house, you're good. Because here's the
You got a
thing,
base.
and this is the secret that nobody even told you. You could lose a job and rent the house out, and you could move, but you still own the asset, right? And I think buying a home, especially as a first-time home buyer, is the easiest hurdle to cross, because with 0% down programs, 3% down programs, down payment assistance, affordable housing programs, there's so many incentives for people to get in that first house
Right.
that don't work for investment properties where you got to put 10, 15, 20% down, right? So you can get in this one for 3%.
Right.
Then you can figure it out.
Right.
So,
And I think another point on that is lost from a financial education perspective is people see renting as lower risk. As a former mortgage broker, one of the things I used to always tell people, I say, listen, when you don't pay your rent 3, 4, 5 days, you're late, they file an eviction notice. So in 30 days, you're out. You're not losing a house in 30 days. You know, our first home that we purchased, which happened to be a foreclosure, the people who were in the house hadn't made a mortgage payment in over 2.5 years.
oh man.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because the lender literally doesn't want your house. They don't want your house. They want you to make those interest payments.
Yes, sir.
And so it's not understanding certain aspects of how finances work causes us to have this certain amount of fear. And we think, and I'm not saying there's no risk, or I'm not even saying that renting is less riskier, but to me, once you understand the dynamics of how this stuff works, you'll be out on your 2 feet faster as a renter than you will as a homeowner.
What you guys are doing, though, just keep in mind, it does look risky. It looks scary. You know, a house is big and gigantic and looks like it's a huge responsibility. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times that's part of the fear as well, that it looks so cumbersome and maybe I can't do that. I can't do what you're doing, Kevin. I can't do what y'all doing. So it looks difficult, you know?
And I'll say,
No, go ahead.
I would say part of it is though, because if just buying a house was the key, then there would be no such word as foreclosure.
That's a good point. That's a good
So
point.
it's not about you have to make the right step, but you have to make the right step in the right location. You got to buy where the values are going up. You got to buy something where the deferred maintenance on the house, meaning the things that the previous person didn't do, aren't going to pile up on you to the point where you can't pay for the roof and pay to feed the kids. You know, you have all those different things that can happen. Your insurance can double if you're in an area where it becomes part of a flood zone. Hurricane can come. It's a whole lot of financial factors that need to be considered in addition to just buy the house.
Yeah.
And you just scared a lot of people by the things you just said. And it's true.
Yeah. But also, I want the millions of people who's watching right now is that buying your first home or your investment property can set you up for the next level. And that's what it did for my wife and I. We used our first home, our investment properties, refinance, put out the money to start doing new construction. And that's why I met Chris at, right on the streets of Liberty Road, right? So buying your first home can set you up for the next level. And that's what it did for Yes to Real Estate. So
Something makes y'all different, though.
yeah.
At this event that you're going to hold, there's going to be a lot of people in that room.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a very limited number that will be able to do what you all have done. You make it look so, I feel like an outsider. It seems easy. Like when I'm watching you on Instagram, it seems so easy. I'm just going to do what Kevin did there. But I've watched him and I've talked to him. There's a whole mental way of thinking that you all have that's not really the norm. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people get pumped up by those things like, oh, I can do what they're doing. But you're a very peculiar person in what you're doing and why you do it. You love doing, you wake up in the morning excited about doing what you do. You wake up in the morning, all of y'all, you wake up excited to do this. Some people looking at it as, oh, this is a fast way for me to make some bread.
But that's not what it is.
Well, let me speak to this, Kevin. So I think what this event about isn't what we do as a profession in our career.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is about bringing an awareness based on what we've learned and been exposed to. So we've looked behind the curtain, and we're coming to our community to say, listen, forget what we do for a living. Let's talk about the underlying principle that we've learned from what we do as a living,
Yes, sir.
which is enough of us aren't buying a house as a primary residence.
Gotcha.
We're going to get to the investing component of that. That's, LeBron James went from high school to the pros, right? Most of us aren't going to do that, right? So, let's talk about the next step. And so the next step is let's talk about how to get you from being a renter just to being a home buyer. Yeah, there you can build, you can develop, you can do all these custom homes like what Kevin is. That's master's level execution.
Gotcha.
Let's just talk about base fundamental. You're paying $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 a month right now in rent. That's $15,000, $16,000 a year. What if we redirected that into an asset that you now own? And now that not only pays down your principal, you have the benefit of appreciation, and now you have an asset that's now going to compound over time. So that's where our focus is with this event. Would you agree?
I'm glad he said that. That's
I agree
great.
completely.
Yeah.
Because I did what I do now for 10 years without owning a thing.
Right.
Between my parents' house and apartments. Even when I met Aisha, I was paying $1,300 a month in rent when her mortgage was $700. And it just, the math is still a math, right? But what we don't have is the space in between. We don't have the information to go, you can, here's permission. I hear from so many men, I don't think I'm ready. Or I got questions. I don't know. Like, it's funny, I had a conversation with a guy and I'm gonna call him out and he gonna be mad at it because he coming to the event, but whatever. Young black man makes $100,000 a year, 800 credit score, $10,000 in the bank, and he's telling me why he can't buy. And he's about to go spend $200,000 on a master's degree at Rice for something that don't directly help him in his career path. I was like, we doing this whole thing backwards. And we sat on the phone for 2 hours and I was just trying to convince him to buy. I was like, you need to own a home. You're paying $1,500 a month in rent right now. It's going to be $1,700 next year, because that's the other piece. And we can speak to this as a group. Housing cost increases 5% every year for renters. You get a 3 to 5% rent increase. Either you stay where you at or not. And then if you move, you have moving expenses, which calculate that as a percentage increase. So when you look at what you're costing in a span of 10 years, you're paying 50% more in housing costs, right? So that's also happening too. So your decisions end up limiting your options year after year after year. So this ain't about what you do for a living. This is about giving you stability at home so you can make the long-term economic decisions to start the business or do the job or quit the job or whatever you want to do. Because at the end of the day, that's what the other cultures are doing, right? They're using their house as a stepping stone to pay for their kids to go to college.
100%.
You know, that's the 529 plan, is the equity I got in this house.
Right.
And the majority of American wealth is in our homes, but not in Black houses, because we don't have the level of wealth.
Yeah, and to further respond to your question about the fear, he just mentioned LeBron James. LeBron still got coaches.
Yeah.
Right? So if the best has a coach, you definitely should have a coach. You should definitely be talking to a mortgage lender that's lent to a lot of first-time home buyers, a real estate agent or broker that you can ask them, hey, show me what your last 10 clients, your clients that bought their house 5 years ago, what's that house worth now? Now you know you're dealing with somebody that knows how to help people find the right house in the right area. Right. And so one of my friends just bought a house in Pearland 4 years ago in one of those new subdivisions. They built up the entire subdivision. The demand was so high, he sold his house a year later got over $100,000 in profit. He went and bought another house farther out, and now he's got another $100,000 in profit.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
They call it trading up. Every 2 years you sell your house.
Let me interject one point to that. So Bloomberg just came out with an article here this past week, and I posted it on Instagram, and it talked about, basically in a nutshell, they said the biggest mistake that millennials are making, who are current renters, is they're trying to make their first home their dream home purchase.
Yeah.
And when I was a mortgage broker, I used to see this all the time. And I equated to buying a vehicle or getting your first vehicle. I remember a buddy of mine, his parents were going to get him a vehicle. I was like, what you want? He's like, dude, if it got 4 wheels and a motor, I'm good. And I was like, that's the mentality we should have about our home purchase.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Nobody says, I'm going to keep riding the bus using mass transit until I get the big body Benz. No, you're going to get the hoopty, you're going to drive the hoopty, you're going to shine it up, and you're going to move your way up. But when it comes to housing, we feel like we got to go from the apartment where we're paying $1,200 a month to, you know, one of these places like what Kevin built, which is 7,000 square feet with a pool, this, that, and the third. And when you study financial independence and those who are financially wealthy and independent, none of them started out with their dream home. They use that starter home to buy investment properties, take that equity to buy more properties, and then 5, 10, 15 years later, they got that dream home.
So a prime example of that is for my wife and I. So we bought our first home 6 years ago. We paid $275,000. I overpaid for the house. Shout out to my wife for making me do it. But we definitely overpaid for the home. And I told my wife, but I knew also over a period of time that it was going to adjust, right? So year 1, no equity. Year 2, no equity. Year 3, we got about 20,000, right? Then what happened? COVID hit.
Boom.
Right?
He looked happy. He's the only person that ever looked happy at COVID.
Like it was magic. COVID hit.
For the millions of people watching, I'm not smiling. I'm smiling on the inside right here.
You smiling?
I'm not smiling, but I'm smiling on it.
COVID hit. We sold our home, $120,000 in equity, right? Then we backdoor and then bought our next home, for our forever home, for $900,000, right? $900,000. And for the people who say your primary home is not an investment, I disagree with that.
100%.
Right? So we bought our primary home for $900,000. 1 year later, I sent out an appraiser to get it appraised. $1.25
Let's
million.
go.
Why did you do that?
Why?
Why did you get it?
Why did I get appraised?
Yes,
Because I knew I was buying it at a great price, right? And I wanted to know what is this home worth. So if I wanted to pull out equity or whatever I wanted to do, I wanted to know my options. And I wanted to show my wife that her man know what he's doing. I know
You picked the right one.
Yeah.
You picked the right one.
Now, here's the question. When you go to the ATM, you ever get that account balance?
Right.
That's all he was doing.
Right.
He pulling an account balance on his investment.
Oh, okay.
He's saying, hey,
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing when I put my money in the bank,
Yeah.
right? I just want to check my balance real quick.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Financial mile
I
mark.
say this too. Like we always hear that statement, whether a house is or is not an investment. It's definitely an investment. You can buy a bar of gold for $2,000. If that price goes down to $1,800 next year, it's still an investment. It's just the asset has depreciated in value, and the asset can also increase in value.
100%.
Dumb question. All of you think that the homes that you live in now that you truly love, it's an investment property.
100%.
yeah, and I don't
Really?
truly love them.
Right.
Like, here's my father used to tell me this all the time: treat houses like used cars. Right now, you'll build a forever home and you'll do whatever, but at the end of the day, it's an asset. And the reason it's an asset is different for us than it is for other communities, because everybody will tell you on the internet, your house is not an asset.
Right.
Right.
For our community, it is.
Right.
And the reason it is the economic
Glad y'all
stability.
saying this.
Right.
People need
Is
to
the
hear this.
ability to pull out equity in the future.
Right.
Is the fact that there's not capital available for us in the same way that it's available for everybody else.
Absolutely.
And we talk about generational wealth, and I know a lot of people, that's a buzzword.
That's a buzzword, yeah.
But let me tell a story of my mother's home. So my mother bought her first house. I was probably 5. It was right when my parents got a divorce. It was the house next door to my childhood home. The lady sold her that house on a $30,000 owner finance note. My mom was a teacher. She ain't make no bunch of money, right? We bought that house for my mother in 2019. We paid my mom $200,000. She sold it to us for a discount because she probably could have sold it for $3,
Easily.
right? That house is worth $450 right now. We haven't done anything to the house. And she's still in the house. We own the house. We just transferred ownership, paid her out, took a mortgage in on ourselves. We'll build our next house on that site. That house will be worth 1.7, 1.8, right? So that's $250,000 at purchase, right? Another $200,000, $300,000 on equity after we build the monstrosity that it's not a monstrosity.
No, that's the wrong word. Let me correct you. The proper phraseology is the palace.
After we build what we gonna build and do what we gonna do, we'll still have that equity. And that's almost $500,000 that was given to me by my mother. She don't have nothing else to give me, but she did have that. That is something. And that is an inheritance, right? Now, I had to pay for it, sure. But I got access to this gift. So now when maybe my daughter or my son is growing their business, I can say, hey, we're going to take $200 out the house and seed your business so that they don't have to bootstrap and figure it out. That's a difference too.
Can I ask you guys another question too? Because I know I am not on any of your levels.
Come on,
So
man.
I'm not, man.
Don't you
I'm a
just
small.
love that self-deprecating, right?
It's not, man.
He does it so
Y'all
big
wake
that
up.
he too.
It's
Listen,
real
you
cool
guys.
to it.
Oh, I
So,
got
Chris,
6, 7 homes.
He got me believing it. You know what I'm saying?
All accidental. And by the way, while you were talking, the house that I live in to this day, the reason why I have that house is because of another girlfriend.
So shout out to
Which is
black
kinda-
women.
The
winners of today, black women.
Being black, doing what you do, was it a fight for you all? Because generally, when I think of the stuff that you guys do, I hate to say this, there's a different face on building homes.
Sure.
And did you guys have any struggles because you're doing what you're doing in the space oftentimes looks like it's a white space?
Sure.
I'm just going to say.
100%, 100%.
And what kind of problems did y'all have with that? I'm just curious.
So I got a story that me and Andre are both a part of. I was the first person to the new construction homes in north end of Fifth Ward, the 77026 zip code. I got turned down for 27 different lenders and investors before I can get anything done on that property.
Wow.
I ended up having
So can I ask, so everything about your perfect score here, perfect business.
decent. It was fair. It was enough to where it should have been approved.
Should have got a yes.
Yeah, should have got approved. And I tell people this too. Sometimes we think it's all racism. Sometimes it's the person on the other side of that desk not usually seeing somebody like you on the other side, and they got a job. And they have to perform, and they're scared. Well, this might be a risk for me. Even if I like this person individually,
I'm gonna lose my job
That
when they
is,
finish.
that is subtle racism.
well, it's because you don't know.
Well, some of it is benefit of the doubt. They give white folks the benefit of the doubt. They don't give them.
It's some of both. It's some of both. It's some of both. Because if you had an 18-year-old kid walk in there and saying, you'd be
That's a
like,
good
well,
point.
he's young. I don't know if he can handle it. So,
that's a good point.
Yeah, it's
You're not 18 years old.
right. I'm not right. But anyway,
Don't discount my
and-
man. He could be 18
And
years
he was
old.
a trailblazer.
Well, he
Like,
looked 22.
He was innovative.
He looked 22. No
Yeah.
disrespect.
Yeah, no. So, after I finally get the financing, I had to go private. I had to get some of my friends to put up some money out of 401k.
Really?
I had to get the owner of the property to joint venture with me instead of me buying it outright, like the seller financing. Then I built the houses. All my buyers ended up being young black professionals.
Mm.
3 of them were women. One was a couple, and one was a guy that used it as an investment property.
Black guy?
Black guy.
See?
Yeah.
One.
One
Out of 4.
Yeah, out of
or
4.
5.
Out of 5. Yeah.
Wow.
The 20% rule.
20%.
Yeah, and then but fast forward, all those young women that bought those houses and the couple, well, all of them actually now they all have like $100,000 in equity in their home, and they weren't even trying to be investors. They just bought 3% down, 0% down. But Andre's building houses up the street that are smaller, that are selling for a higher dollar per square foot. So now all of them have made over $100,000 just by buying the right house at the right time, at the right place.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What did you like? There has to be somewhere in there where somebody was trying to stop you because the way you look.
That and then representation matters. I tell people,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you're going down a journey of home ownership, and you don't see yourself represented, right? I grew up on Club Creek and Fifth Ward.
Mm.
Shotgun houses and rent houses, right? So it wasn't until I seen someone like me who did it, right? And for me, for new construction, it wasn't until I ran into him, Chris, on Liberty Road, right? It was crazy. I was coming out of 59. I seen him getting out his BMW and going into the new construction. And the first thing I thought, he must be associated with this property. I got out the car. I seen him. I ran across 59, the Liberty Road. I said, "Hey, I'm Andre." I had on my uniform. "Hey, I'm Andre Barablo. I want to do new construction." I'm all eager and excited. I said, "This you?" Right? And what's the important part about that is when I seen Chris, in my mind, I said, this was his. I didn't say he was a worker.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't say he was there cleaning up.
Mm-hmm.
I associated him getting out the car with this was his.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, right? And then when I seen him, that day my life was changed because I said, if Chris can do it, I can do it because I seen someone who looked like me do it.
That is
That's-
a very important part.
That is very
beautiful,
important.
though.
Representation matters.
Mhm.
It
But
definitely does.
I want to tell a story about what you're saying about people trying to stop you. So, at our Grand Park Square community in Southside, we have one white couple that lives in that community, and this was the only pure white couple that bought in that community. And their agent, one of the top real estate agents in the city, one of the largest
Was
brokerages
it
in
me?
the city. It was not.
Oh, okay.
It was not. But they up there.
Yeah, okay.
Their inspector was white. So here's the problems that we had. Now, mind you, I don't typically see every house, but if there's issues, I'm gonna come. So we get an inspection report. Inspection report's a mile long. I'm like, hold on, this is a new build house. That don't make sense. And it's stuff like, I don't feel like this is adequate. I don't feel like this is, acceptable.
Saying that I don't
It's
feel.
in the report. I don't
Wow.
feel like this makes sense. So I said, well, this is weird, but we'll warranty it, whatever. Let's just do all the repairs. So we do all the repairs. The inspector comes back. I said, hey, we'll pay for the reinspection, no problem, whatever. Come back. And the inspection's taking a long time. I'm like, well, I'm calling my staff members to call. So I pull up. I go, and this inspector's in the backyard, and he's reading my staff the riot act. He's like, yeah, y'all, we have French drains that we install in each one of our homes. He said, I don't feel like this French drain at 4 inches is enough to support the drainage of this house. Now, I'm walking into the conversation. Now, when people see me, and a lot of times I wear a Park Street shirt and I, whatever, but I'm a reasonably casual black man. Unless I'm like in a suit or whatever, you wouldn't necessarily know that I own the
You
company.
own 'em.
Right.
Yeah.
So I walk in, I said, hold on, catch me up. And this is what I tell him. I said, hold on, catch me up because I don't understand. And he says, well, I was just telling him that I don't feel like this 4-inch drain line is adequate enough for this house. I said, are you a drain specialist? He said, no. He said, but you can have your gutter guys do the calculations. So I said, hold on. are you a gutter specialist? And he said, no. I said, so why don't you do the calculation? Do you have some metric that you're going off of?
Right.
No, I just don't feel like it's adequate. I said, now let me tell you something. Do you see standing water? We've built 20 of these. We haven't had a single issue. This isn't even a requirement of the city. We do this as a plus to make sure that our buyers don't have any water. And I don't understand why you think that we need to take something that's an additive, that's a value add to the buyers up a notch because you don't feel like it's adequate with no basis for what you're saying.
Right.
Now, I might look casual, but my degree is in
you know.
I've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
He was pissed. He said,
I love this story.
he said,
I'm on the edge of my seat.
he said, you know what? I don't have time to talk to you right now. I need to finish my inspection. So he goes up to the attic and whatever. He comes back. He's like, I only have 10 minutes. I have somewhere to be here. 20 minutes later, and I'm sitting here talking to the buyer about where the cat's going to sleep and whatever. He comes downstairs. He's like, they said, oh, well, did you find more stuff? He said, I found a bunch of stuff.
Oh.
I said, that's odd. Okay. He said, I don't have time for questions right now. I'm going to make myself available for questions tomorrow between 9 and 10. I was like, that's it. Now we've never had this.
I love it because I would have been off the chain already.
No, I mean, that's not how
I
you
love
fight
this
those
about you.
battles.
I love this.
So anyway, the next day, waiting for 9 to 10, no availability. Send me the voicemail, no inspection report. Interesting. So then we get a cancellation of contract. After the concerns of the inspector, the buyers were so gravely concerned that they don't feel comfortable moving forward with the house. They feel like the structure is in jeopardy. That's weird. And we haven't seen a report. So I called the inspector because I just had to know. I'm like, what could be so whatever? I asked the inspector, I said, hey, what did you see that was so concerning that they needed to cancel the contract? So he said, yeah, I went to the side of the house and I looked underneath the siding and I saw your framing is overhanging your slab by 2 inches. That means half the wall is over the side of the house. I don't have a measuring tape. I didn't measure it, but I feel like the house is in jeopardy of falling down. I said, what? I was on the way to Dallas. We were supposed to go to Dallas at 1 o'clock. We didn't go to Dallas till 8. We didn't go to Dallas till 8 o'clock. I went to the house immediately and I put a measuring tape on and I sent him. Well, actually, I didn't even send it to him. I filed a complaint against him. I went the exact spot he was saying was overhanging by 2 inches because he felt like not only was the assembly built exactly how it was per plan, when you put a measuring tape on it, the entire assembly wasn't even an inch over. And it wasn't the foundation or the framing that was over. It was the overhang from the siding and the sheathing and the firewall, which it's supposed to be. Right. It's on our drawings direct. I said a framer wouldn't even frame that.
Right. Yeah.
And that don't make sense. So anyway, I lit him up. I lit the agent up or whatever. I wrote a very impassioned email about how crazy this is. I offered to pay for a different inspector. And I said, I've never experienced this. But he started feeling some kind of way when he crossed 288. He started feeling some kind of way when he saw my black face building this house. And he didn't feel like they should be in a house built by a black man. That's what I feel, right? We've had that again when we built Charleston, $1 million house.
A great house.
White buyers.
Beautiful house.
Yeah,
Amazing.
man.
Amazing house. White buyers love the house. From the open house that this our house. Their agent felt like they should get more for what they're paying. Now we put more than anybody else because I know you got to come with it, especially in the areas we build. But she felt like they should be in a better area. She felt like they should get a better house because of who they are. And it's ultimately because of who we are.
Bad agent for steering, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, Trek got complaint forms for reasons, and we do things, and people tell me.
But does your complaints, do they have meat to them? Do they have an effect on those people?
That's hard to tell because you can't chase it down enough to know. But I know this: I'm gonna fight ignorance with excellence.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to continue to exceed expectations for every single buyer because that's not specific to this one particular group. They didn't get more or less service than anybody else. I'm going to make sure that our product is the best product, period.
Got you.
And that's just in my heart. And regardless, the time will tell.
Yeah.
Like, we named the company Park Street. We ain't name it Kevin Shelton's Homes or Joe Black's Truck Homes or whatever. We named it Park Street Homes. And there's a reason that we did that. And there's a story behind that name and a quality that means something. And every single house that gets that plaque means something to us. And we stand behind that. And that's for everybody. That's not a black thing, a white thing, a Hispanic thing, an Asian thing, an Indian thing. That's for everybody. We build homes for everybody. But it's black people building them. And I do want people to know that because representation does matter. 100%. So when I see them young black boys walking down the street going, oh, you built this? Or you work for some? No. You can too.
Yeah.
Because I was a little boy in Third Ward walking around too.
Right.
And I know, hey, I went to Yates just like you. I went to U of H right there across the street from Yates. All this is available for you. And I'll show you how to do it. You just got to want to do it. But that's the next step. It starts with buying a house.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the great thing about buying houses in the communities that we're in, we all pretty much do the same thing. Some people on a higher level, right? But as you can see, we are here because we believe that completion is better than competition,
Yes,
right?
sir.
This is not a competition matter. This is a completion matter, right? We all have a different message, a method, way of doing it, but the same end result that we're looking for is for people to buy a home.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about friends because there's a couple of things. We talked about your friend who just bought a house and we talked about some of the people associated. I think one of the biggest influences to home purchase or financial freedom is your friend group, right? Like I had all y'all phone number. I could call y'all on the phone. When Andre got questions, he can call me on the phone. When I got questions, I might call Tyron. Like it's all about your network. And when Aisha bought her first house at 23, 5 of her girlfriends followed behind her because they watched her and they went, oh, girl, you mine right now? What did you need to do?
Right.
Who did you talk to? Who was your loan officer? Who was your realtor? And then they bought subsequent, right? So it's the same way. We refinanced our house in the COVID pandemic and got a 2% interest rate. So I'm telling all our friends, I'm like, y'all need to refinance right now. Some listened, some didn't. The ones who listened got a 2% interest rate and cashed out on some of their equity in their house, love their new mortgage now. My mortgage dropped from $2,200 to $1,500. And literally, it's who you get the information from and who you're also following. Because if you hanging out with folks drinking on the corner or they going to the dealership, they ain't going to the open house, they going to the dealership, you're soon to follow. So what is it about men and our way that we have friendships or adolescent friendships, young men friendships, the people we go play basketball with that stops us from being able to take those next steps? And talk
I think
about
you guys were better than, again, listen, not until you came along, I was a solo player in my life at all times. Don't trust nobody. I'll figure it out myself. I just wake up in the morning and I do. And I'm still bad at that. I think it's interesting though, because all you guys don't even know, y'all younger than me, but it's interesting to listen to you and hear the information because I wish I would have got it years ago. I was just totally somewhere else, but you get it when you get it sometimes. So you're right. I do believe you need a strong friends circle. I do believe that you need mentors. And I don't think that that's being done for a lot of people that look like us to understand the importance of that and having you a little friendship circle, so to speak, of people you can go to. Like, again, for me, I was like, I'm focused. I got to do it alone. Forget everybody. I'll just do it alone and I'll make it work. And I got lucky. But I would be way down the street. My conversation would definitely be like you guys if I would have had people in my circle that would have helped me grow, if I would have had a mentor that would help me grow. Maybe my business, because what I was doing, it put me in a different circle or something like that. But I really admire where you got, like, you saw somebody and you just walked up to him like, hey, you're doing something.
My whole
and I
career,
need,
I've been doing
yeah,
that. I
you
did
know
that
what I'm saying.
with Kevin.
So I salute y'all with that. But you're right. You don't see a lot of people doing it. When you started in this circle, and I just know this from listening to your conversations and being around you, that a lot of the people doing what you do did not look like you.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't even know that this is possible until COVID teaches us to get on social media and you see people like y'all, like, oh, we doing this? Oh, I didn't know we was doing this. I just, like when I said Dave Ramsey, you're like, come on, dog. Come on, dog. I'm gonna have to give you some. I'm gonna have to be your mentor too. Come on under me, Hattie. God.
I love Dave, by the way.
No disrespect.
It works for 98% of people. Dave Ramsey is the right recipe because it's the decisions, right? It goes to the decisions. And when you're not able to make the right decisions in the clutch, right? If you in the pocket and you about to throw the ball and you know you're going to throw that bitch to the ground,
Right.
you need somebody to be able to tell you what the play is.
Can I say something too? I don't think it's fair to go to somebody and say, I want you to mentor me, but I have nothing to give you in return. Okay, I ain't mean to make nobody upset over here. But I believe that, like, I think so many people in life, I just want to be close to you,
Right.
Tyron, because I know I can
Right.
take some of what you have
Right.
and I can build on it.
Right.
But I have absolutely nothing to
Right.
offer you for the information you give me. So why should you sit here and unload all this great information? It's unfair for all the years that you went through
Right.
to acquire that knowledge, and somebody expects to come up to you and you just give them the game. Game is not what the rappers tell you.
No, not
It's
so.
sold, man.
sold.
And I don't want to make anybody mad, but I think it's unfair sometimes when somebody comes up to you and say, hey, man, show me how to do this.
Right.
And I ain't offered you nothing.
Right. And, I think, all of us have social media platforms. I think more is caught than taught. And so I think a lot of times what you said is very true. We just want to be so close up to the person. But if you follow Andre, he's already giving you the playbook. If you follow Chris, he's already giving you the playbook. Chris don't have to hold my hand, you know what I'm saying, to show me what the steps are. But see, what it is that's what people want. They want someone to hold their hand. And most people think they want a mentor. They really don't. A mentor isn't somebody you listen to. A mentor is somebody who's thinking, you take and you execute what they tell you to do.
Yes, sir.
You see what I'm saying? Not they tell you, oh, okay, because see, once they tell you, now you're going, okay, do I want to do that or not? Kevin can tell you numerous people that came to him and say, hey, what do I do? He tell them A, B, C, and D. And then they say, well, okay, well, Chris said a different A. Chris had A+, so I ain't going to take that from Kevin. And then Andre said, don't do D, do L. So I'm really going to do 1.5 of the 4 things he told me.
Yes,
well, no,
sir.
that's not what a mentor is.
Yes, sir.
You see what I'm saying? And so you don't need to be close up to people. This is a question I get all the time, and I know y'all get it too. And it's kind of frustrating to me. People say, hey, can you recommend to me one great book on building or development or investing? And I think when I was broke, staying on my buddy's in his living room, I went to Barnes & Noble and read every book.
Every single one.
You know what I'm saying? I went on Amazon when I started making a few nickels. I bought every book associated with the topic. Why? It's a $15, $20 book. But see, what people want is give me the numbers to the lottery. I want that one. I love that. I want that one setup. I want that one combination that's going, take, that I'm gonna win with. And that's not how it works. That leads to this, instant gratification, something for nothing. I'm just gonna throw one thing against the wall and get rich. And that is not what happens. That's not what works. And nobody that you really aspire to be like has gotten to their level of success that way.
Yeah, and I mean, but to your point, there's always ways to bring value. Like I said, if you're going to the real estate agent that's already helped other people, their incentive is, hey, if I help this person figure this out, then he's going to buy a house with me, right? I also teach people this. You may not have anything personally of value, but network. Go out and get business cards. You get business cards from a commercial lender that may lend for new construction. You haven't bought your first house yet, but guess what? That may be your way to go talk to somebody that is a builder that's looking for another lender. Hey, this guy is no use to me, but here's his card. Now you bring value to that person. It's something that you didn't bring personally. So it's always ways outside of what you can personally bring to the table that you can third party validation can help you get in with somebody that you're trying to get information from.
Yes, sir.
Resourcefulness.
Resourcefulness, yeah.
And for me, I tell people who pay attention.
That's true.
No, that's true, because here's the thing.
I feel that. Okay.
And all the guys up here, I I sow into them. I believe in their purpose. And there's no way I'm gonna come to Kevin and drain Kevin dry if I'm not sowing into his vision, right? Right, with time, energy, finances, or whatever it might be. People who pay attention, because when I first got started in the game, I was giving the game away for free. 2-3 years, I was doing field trips every day. You know, at the house with the wife, babe, I'm about to go out in the streets. I'm just showing everybody houses. You want to talk about real estate? You, the cats and dogs walking. I'm talking to everybody, right? And then it got to a point where people were taking advantage of you, right? They drain you dry, and guess what? They keep coming back to the well for more. Right? Because they know this well is free. Right? And so once I start putting a price tag to my time, because I realized, oh, my time is valuable. I start putting money associated with my time. It kind of dissipate the people who were just wasting time.
Eliminate the tactics.
Yeah. And it brought people to me who was really serious about learning. So now your investment is your money. My investment is giving you the intellectual property to make sure you avoid the pitfalls when it comes to buying your first home, real estate, development, rentals, or whatever it might be. And when I started doing that, the business went to another level, but also I was able to have my time back, because I'm only dealing with people who wants it, right? People who pay attention.
Yeah.
That sounds like a book.
So you're gonna pay either way.
Yes.
You're gonna pay.
That's true too. And to Chris's point, you are going to pay either way.
Yeah.
And the reality of the situation is those programs are available for the people who are serious and ready to take it to the next step. So you almost need that separator, right? Because people will waste your time. When we first started talking to couples, we'd sit down with couples individually. We'd have them over to our house for dinner and whatever. And we probably sat down with 30 couples. And out of those 30 couples, 2 of those couples maybe actually took action. The rest of the couples, and people came to our house ready to quit our job tomorrow, do real estate full time, and be like, 6 months later, they on crypto, or they on whatever. Like, they're jumping to whatever they think is going to be the lottery ticket, right? And they don't really want it. And what I've found for me, I have one conversation, right? And in that one conversation, my disclaimer is this: if at the end of this conversation you don't do any of the things, we will never have another conversation. Truly, because I'm not going to invest the time in you, right? Like, if you came around to my projects, even if you came around to my projects and then you don't do anything,
Right.
I'm not gonna waste my time, because I'm pouring in a hole, I'm pouring in an empty bucket. Like, it just spills on the ground. Like, all this stuff is available. But the people who taught me, I also took action on every single one of those things.
Right.
Once again, I gotta say, you guys make it look simple.
It's hard.
It is, and I just needed you guys to say that, because when I'm seeing you on social media, I'm thinking I'm getting up tomorrow, and I'm gonna be worth about $15 million.
Let me ask you a question: is being broke hard too?
Wow.
Ain't actually did me like that.
I'm
We supposed to be friends, man.
I'm just
But you're right.
When my oldest daughter was born, I made $15,000 a year. And $150 was everything. I remember very vividly sending my ex-wife $150 and not eating for a week and a half. Because diapers and food in New Orleans was better than anything here.
Yes, sir.
I remember driving 10 hours to Wichita, Kansas after a double shift and wrecking my car because I fell asleep because I just didn't have the money for a plane ticket or any kind of other transportation, and I couldn't wait to see my baby for one weekend. All these things are hard. You just pick your hard,
Right.
right? Like, building a business is
I was
hard.
doing some hip hop quotables. Kick your heart. I should have been writing some of this stuff. I hope y'all got y'all notebooks out there. These boys going hard with these one-liners here.
No, but I say this: of all these things, buying a house is the easiest part.
Wow.
Because it's all hard. Paying rent is hard every month.
Yes, sir.
Right? Going to buy that foreign is hard every month. Like, that note come mighty regular. All these things come mighty regular. But if you own it, you got way more options than if you don't. In every civilization, from Rosewood to Tulsa, even though, that's the thing now. But all these civilizations were built on ownership.
Yes, sir.
And it started off with, we live here, if it's a shanty shack, And I wanted to touch on your point earlier about we want to live in our final house or whatever. The reason people choose renting is I can go stay in the Galleria for $2,100 a month.
Right.
And I got the nicest apartment. I got valet and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But for, the same $2,100, I might be in the hood.
Right.
But you own it in the hood.
Right.
Versus you renting it, paying this Class A apartment building's rent.
Which goes back to the financial education point. You know what I mean? A lot of times we would rather the appearance versus having the substance of, you know what I'm saying? And so, I think that's part of why we're doing this event is to try and help people understand and the sacrifice and to the point of being hard, and this is probably a societal thing, but when did we subscribe to the notion that this is going to be easy? And when you look at our culture, nothing's ever been easy for us.
Yes, sir.
So why all of a sudden do we view stuff through the lens of, going back to mentors and mentees? One of the things about mentoring people I had to understand with helping people is, I never focus on what the issues are. I focus on what my goal is. So of course it's hard. Nothing's never been nothing I ever valued in life came to me easy.
Yes, sir.
So I never had an expectation that this was just going to happen. That's why he didn't quit when 27, 26 banks said no. You know what I'm saying? He didn't. He wanted the first bank or two to say yes, but his vision was bigger than the hardships that he had to endure to bring it to pass. And so I think we have to do whatever we have to do to anesthetize our community from this concept of viewing stuff through, oh man, this is difficult, or this is hard, or it costs. I always tell people to do what we do, there's two things you got to agree that you're going to be fine with. It's going to cost more, and it's going to take more than what you expect. And it's three things. It's going to cost more than you expect. It's going to take more than what you expect, and it's going to take longer than what you expect. If you can live with those three things, you'll be okay. If you can't live with those three things, not only will you not do this, you're probably not going to do anything else.
And also understanding sometimes when you're doing something, you are the first, right? And because you are the first, the people who are coming behind you is going to celebrate with you and win because of you. Because of Chris being the first on Liberty Road, and me seeing Chris, I was able to come and say, oh, he sold this for $284. All right, I'm going to build my product. So I was one of the first to build townhomes with no garage, 1,500 square feet. The only reason why I took that calculated risk, I ran the numbers, of course, but also I seen Chris do it. So I say, hey, Chris can do it. He was the first, and then he was the guinea pig, right? he was, because he was the one to get people to come over here and say, okay, it's cool to build in Fifth Ward on this side of Frenchtown, and he ran the play, and I came behind him.
Mr. Chris, you never looked at that and like, hey, man, you biting my technique, my style, my area, my da-da-da.
It's the opposite. When I was trying to get into the new construction side of things, there's a whole bunch of us wholesaling, a whole bunch of us flipping. And there was just so many rules so many people tell me why we couldn't do this or why I couldn't find anybody to help me. So now I'm like, I remember how frustrated I was when I was trying to figure it out. So I'm happy to be the person that everybody sees now doing it, giving them all the resources and everything, because it's too much work out here for just one person to take on, and we need more examples in our communities that are doing these things. So
absolutely.
Right now, it's probably 8 or 9 black builders over there.
Yeah.
Not only black builders, but a whole bunch of other builders. The Trailblazer always takes the arrow. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he made it look cool. Now there's everybody in that part of town where there was no one before he came there first. Wow. To your point.
What did you see? What was it about that area? You're like, oh, I think that this is going to be something in the next 5 to 10 years.
That part, just studying city plans. I had one of my old mentors tell me to follow where all the redevelopment was going in the city and just get ahead of it, be in front of it. And so, but in order to be in front of it, you got to be first, right? So it's a big risk. So that means nobody sees the vision. Everybody just knows that as just being the hood for so long. So that was my focus, and just also remembering what those neighborhoods used to be. Before desegregation, those were very, very prominent neighborhoods.
Thriving neighborhoods.
Founded by freed slaves.
Yeah.
Right. And we owned the whole community. We didn't need affirmative action.
Ownership.
We owned all the firms.
Mentorship, ownership, proximity. Like all these things play into why people owning homes is powerful, right? Because those communities aren't going to go down in value, right? We experienced that. And now they're the hottest thing since sliced bread. Yeah. Literally, the hood is a very fluid term these days, right? Like, and people have to understand that you might see trash in the streets and vagrants walking around, but look at that skyline. You know what I mean? Look at the proximity to the medical center. Look at where the employment bases are. And look at the fact that 257 people move to Houston every day, and they need a place to go.
Yes, sir.
And it's never going to get smaller than what it is now.
I'm telling my first-time home buyers that you want to invest in areas where the cats and dogs are walking themselves.
I love
And that's true.
That's
No, I
very
like
true.
that.
Think about it.
You hear that again.
Most people can't see that. Most people don't have that kind of vision, bro.
Yeah, but yeah, you pull up to the stop sign and you see the dog and cats. They sometimes congregate in the middle of the street. You wait, and they do their thing and move
That's
along.
good, Andre.
But when you think about it, those areas are progressing on a whole nother level. I'm a witness to it. We bought a lot on Deschamps Street. It was full of cats and dogs. Right, you had cats and dogs on one corner, then you had the prostitutes on the other end, right, and then you had abandoned houses on that street. The first house, a first-time home buyer bought his house for $275, and I remember him talking to me. He's like, "Man, I don't know about the cats and dogs." I said, "This is normal. Before you know it, it's gonna be somebody behind those cats and dogs." Think about it. Right now, they walking themselves,
right.
but I said, guarantee somebody's gonna be walking them behind a person. He bought his house for $275. We sold the last house on that street, $340,000, 7 months. And guess what? The cats and dogs are still walking. They move further down. Right? Right? But that's why I'm telling my first-time home buyers.
And here's the thing, and this is what our community has to really understand. We're afraid of us. White people ain't afraid of black folks. They move in our communities all day.
That's
and
a
they know,
hectic comment.
no, it's the truth.
Man,
Think about it like this. When you go into a quote unquote bad community, it's you judging you, right? You're going, hey, man, they standing out there on the corner. Oh, man, they whatever. When a white person sees that, when they walk up, they go, oh, this is opportunity.
100%.
And they know when they call the cops gonna be there. If not, they gonna rain holy hell down on City
This
Hall.
is so true.
Right.
Because you see these neighborhoods that you can go in right here in the city, and you watch them slowly take it over as they're out there jogging, and you like, man, a couple
Look what
of
happened
years
to the
ago,
Heights.
Right. No.
you jogging
No,
that
I
Heights,
didn't
area.
when
say
I
that.
was a kid,
What's the hood?
was the hood.
No, it was the
I mean,
barrio.
it was-
wasn't
it was-
the hood. It was
it
the
literally
barrio.
was-
I went to Booker T. Washington High School.
Literally.
Graduated in 1992. I can tell you what the Heights look like.
And now all you can see is remnants, right? When I was a kid, the Heights was like,
Right.
boy,
Please,
Now
I
it's one
got
of,
bikes over there.
yeah, it's one of the most prestigious areas in the city.
Yeah, I was gonna tell that story because y'all it's tying right in. I forgot who it was. Marlon or somebody flipped one of the first houses close to TSU over there. One of his friends. They had an open house. 98% of the foot traffic was white. So he said he stopped one of the ladies towards the end. He's like, "Ma'am, I'm just curious, what brought you to this area?" She said, "Oh, baby, I bought my house in the Heights 20 years ago when it looked like this. I got $400,000 equity. I'm about to sell it and do the same thing."
Wow.
And they ain't scared.
So what information do they have that gives them the insight
Oh,
to
that's a good
know?
question.
So
You understand what I'm saying?
They
Because they
read-
obviously seen something that
they read the tea leaves of the city, right? They read, hey, they're bringing jobs. They're reading the Business Journal every day. They're reading the Chronicle every morning. They saying, oh, they bringing
Financial
50,000 jobs. U of H growing and expanding their campus. Okay, cool. I need to be close to that. Downtown's building FOMO buildings. They plan on expanding 45. Okay, cool. I want to be close to that. I don't like driving this hour drive to get to wherever. Okay, cool. I want to be close to that. They're looking at the growth of the city and planning their dollars accordingly.
Okay, so how can people that look like us start to understand how to start seeing what those people are seeing? Is there something that you can help them to be able to see those movements about to happen?
I'm gonna make it real simple. Go where your mama stay and buy that house. Because the black people who built this city,
Boy,
the black,
y'all boys spitting bars.
it's
man.
the truth. We did a house. We built a brand new house. Tyron.
House.
Actually, we went to a restaurant. We had a house. We bought it to renovate. It fell down on itself. It hadn't been occupied in over 30 years. We designed a house on a napkin, and I
Right.
built that house in its place. And literally, the lady next door had been in that community for 65 years.
Wow.
She was 98, 96, something, and perfectly like lucid, whatever. Nice lady. Told us the entire story. She's like, oh, such and such used to work for GE and such used to work for Texas Instruments and da-da-da-da. And all the stories of all the black professionals that had built the neighborhood. And she was so saddened by the fact that what it had become
Right.
when they worked their entire lives to do this, to build this thing that was theirs for a time. And now she was just happy to see my black face building the house next door. And she was like, and you're doing a good job too? You built something that actually looks good.
Right.
Yeah.
And she just sit and tell us stories. But our communities speak volumes. If the streets could talk, they'd tell our history.
Right.
It's not in any books. It's in the people.
Right.
So
So
people
go
that
get
look
mama's
like us
day.
need to stop being scared
Of us.
to be around people
Yeah.
that look like us.
Exactly.
That point.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead. Go ahead.
well, all I was going to say to piggyback off what Kevin just said, and I am so, if you're not in Houston, like we're all from Houston, so it's easy. So one of the things I practice whenever I go to a new city, and so I land, I get in my car, and I go down to their downtown, and then I drive all around their downtown till I find the worst looking part of the periphery of downtown.
Mm-hmm.
And then I drive that community till I find what they call that line of demarcation.
Yep.
It's a street, it's a track,
Railroad.
it's something that you cross, and then all of a sudden you see power
Cats and
lines,
dogs
you see
walking
streets, you see,
themselves.
right. And then I go back to that worst part of the area, and then I start looking for the opportunities there. So I tell people quite simply, go find the worst community closest to the epicenter of the city,
Wow.
and that's where you buy.
Yeah, where you start when you see a little bit of activity starting, the first couple houses being renovated, the people moving into them, then that area is slowly demand is growing in that area, and then the easy thing I tell people to do is just type in the name of the city you're in, type in urban planning, housing and zoning, something like that. It's gonna pull up somewhere on their website where it says where their 5, 10, 15-year plans are. When you see something in that plan that overlaps with something you see in the community, then if they're fixing the streets, if they're fixing the sidewalks, the area is coming. The city is trying to get people to come to that area.
And these folks got plans.
Okay, that was game right there. That's the mentor talk right there.
Yeah.
You just gave that one.
These folks got big plans. The city has 30-year plans. I'll tell two stories. In Missouri City, we were buying a parcel that the city ultimately eminent domained and had to buy us out of our contract on. They had plans on that parcel. It's 2023 since 1970, before the people we bought it from had ever bought it. They knew what they wanted there that far back. They said, "Oh yeah, that's supposed to be a park." I said, "Hold on, what you mean? It was owned by a school. It was owned by HSD. No. We determined that was going to be a park in 1970 in our city planning meeting, right? And people think I'm a genius for what we did in South Union. No, I worked in the medical center for 7 years.
Right.
I went in an office in MD Anderson, and they had all of the city on a map. And they had buildings on a big table with models of exactly where the medical center was expanding. They said, "Oh yeah, this medical center east. Hold on, you mean right there by the Shibleys?
Right.
Oh yeah. That's medical center
Right.
east. It ain't called
It
that
won't
right
be there,
now.
right.
Oh, it will be though.
Right.
And they showed on a map, we expanding west here, we expanding east here, we're going to Austin here. Okay, I just need to follow the plan because they got a plan for the city. All this city is somebody's decision. Every single street,
Yes, sir.
every single sidewalk, somebody thought of it, right? It's just, are you determining what the future of your neighborhoods look like? Because we are every day. We're choosing. I built a block. He built a block. He building a block. Literally, we're determining, hey, 20 years from now, this going to be what I said for it to be because I chose for it to be. I got a whole community that look like I drew on paper. And every single house being built there now follows my model. It'll be over 100 homes that all look like the houses that I decided.
Yes, sir.
And the whole city's like that.
And I say this too. We talk about the 5 people you're closest to. Is usually how you're mentally molded. Well, now it could be the 5 people you follow most on social media.
Ooh.
So if
Okay.
if they're following us, and
Another
they're in
bar.
Houston, if they're following us in Houston, then they know where they should be going.
So quit following Big Booty Julie.
Right.
Maybe follow
Right.
some of this stuff right here so
Yeah,
you can
get
get you
off
some payday in
Hollywood
your life.
Unlocked.
Yeah.
Buy you a house so you can
Shade
get your
room.
own
Yeah.
Big Booty
How about
Julie
that?
in the
Yeah, how
house.
about that? How about that? How about that?
So as we wrap, and I appreciate you guys' time so much,
This
and
has
I
been
mean,
fun.
I'm excited for the conversation for the event and to share this information live and in person for people to be able to answer their questions and things like that here. And we're expecting over 500 people, so that is exciting.
A couple of things you got to mention though, because you were black men. I don't want to say exclusive, but your thought pattern was, I want black men
I
in
want a
this
room full of
building
black men. Yeah.
to educate them on this process
Yes.
because I don't feel like they're getting the education or they're not comfortable taking this step to home ownership. And I think that they should be.
And here's the coldest part about that. You know who's the first to chime in? The sisters. They were like, hold on, we ready to buy a house right now. So that shows the disparity in our thinking, right? So the black men, we got to convince and cajole. The women coming just because they coming.
Right.
So
Support.
what I wanted to see was a sea of black faces, a sea of black men learning this is what buying a home and owning a home will do for me today. Not tomorrow, not next year, 10 years from now. If I can get off this $1,500 rent and start paying a $1,500 mortgage, I'm going to win.
Yes.
And I'll be able to make better decisions for the future of my family, for the future of my legacy, my household, my pocketbook. I'll have better choices. And yes, the roof comes and the toilet sometimes got to be switched out and whatever. But you can learn all that, right? And we can teach you. The internet can teach you. YouTube University can teach you how to do 99% of the things it takes to maintain a house. But if you own it, you can always rent it out. And you can make long-term decisions, and that's the power of it. But
Really, that should be the end. But I have to ask you this. This is my last question for you. And man, I just so much love being here with you guys. Let me just say that. I feel like my pockets just got fatter. I know it's all in my head, but something just just gonna spill over on me, and I'm gonna do some great things. But you having this idea did come at a cost. And that cost is that there were some people that they were not friendly to the idea of you doing something that was specifically designed to increase the mindset of black men.
you know the interesting part about
And
that
I had to
is
mention that.
So y'all all my actual friends in real life. Y'all know I'm not a social media cat like that. Like I don't care. I have never experienced the level of vitriol and hate until we posted that flyer. And just the title alone, and I mean some of the comments were like wild. And I got so tired of. I used to have to wake up every morning, maybe delete 30, 40 comments, and I got tired of it. I just let them fly. But it was white men can buy houses too. Y'all dusty black folks trying to be blah blah blah. Like, and I mean, it even worse than that. I won't even say it on the podcast, but the pure hate alone of. Y'all are doing this and breaking this thing that we want to be in place, right? We don't want y'all buying homes. That was the damn problem in Rosewood and all these other communities. Y'all having access to information.
I'm glad you
Especially
said that.
black
I didn't think
men.
you were going to actually say that.
Why?
It's kind of controversial to acknowledge that those people were mad, not because you're going to educate people who look like you, who could in turn become people who do what you guys are doing.
Yeah,
And it seems threatening,
it does.
and we don't want you doing that. Okay, a couple of you guys got successful. Hurrah. The rest of these guys, we don't want everybody in Fifth Ward awarded with this information so they can then go back and do what you're doing. So I'm surprised. I didn't know that you was going to be so frank. So I should have known.
I'm
that,
generally
but
frank.
Yes,
but
you are.
I'll say this. My goal, if the same 20% of that room, right?
Absolutely.
Can buy a home, which is 100 men. 100 black men go buy one more house.
Awesome.
You know the economic impact to our community in the city? Now let 500 do it. They gonna say, look, y'all might have to fight.
Everybody started getting excited here.
I keep that thing, go ahead. But I'm just saying, that's power.
Yes,
That's
sir.
choice. And let it buy it in our neighborhoods. What would Fifth Ward look like if 500 black homeowners show up? What would Third Ward look like? What would South Union look like? Because we got the money. It's not a money thing. We're not priced out of the market. We don't buy in the market.
Right.
We buy other things. It's just choices. We buy the
I needed that big body Benz, though.
Exactly.
I
And
needed it.
sometimes we need to buy a Hyundai. They real nice now.
Right.
They very nice now. We need
Genesis?
to buy a Kia. You know, we need to buy a Honda Accord so that we can have more choice later.
Yes, sir.
Because it's not about now, right? When I was coming up and my family landscaped in River Oaks for over 80 years, the people who really had the money didn't have a nice, they drove like a literally plain Jane Tahoe. Now it had all the features or whatever. So what was success for me? I bought a plain Jane Tahoe. Because the billionaires that I grew up looking at in River Oaks, they drove a plain Jane Tahoe.
He got a dent in it too. That boy real about his. He's spending his money is in the right place. He let you know he lived this life. It's
Here's
not.
what
He's
you
not
have to
talking
do.
about it.
Look at me.
I just had to say that.
Look at me and ask yourself, Could I fix the front dent in my car for like
Absolutely.
$1,000? Sure. I'm going to spend $1,000 this afternoon. Actually, I'm spending way more than that this afternoon. But the reality of it is that's not my priority.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to buy $1 million worth of dirt. I'm working on the next like 20 acre plot or whatever. Car don't matter to me.
Yeah.
A house. One house don't necessarily matter to me. Now, I don't even see them. We building 12 right now. I don't even necessarily like go to them like that. What I know is the power economically on a single person basis. If one more person buys one more house and we do that at scale, it changes the table.
Absolutely.
And the table's got to
That's
change.
powerful, man. I didn't even think about the numbers like that, man. I'm glad that you really broke it down. I hope somebody heard that. So I ain't even thinking about those other 400 now. I'm thinking about if I can get 100 in there that are ready to make that move, man, that
If
is
we can get
incredibly
one, it changes
powerful.
one family.
Absolutely, man.
100%.
I appreciate what y'all doing because y'all really are giving up game. You don't have to. You don't have to do it on social media and none of that. But you are giving up a lot of game. And some of the stuff y'all talk about, I will be honest, it sounds scary to me. I'm a very passive buyer. It's all accidental for me. I know y'all laugh at me and say
You
whatever
got
you
6
want.
of them, though. That's
Listen,
paid off.
it's
Six
all
pack. Tough.
Yeah.
it's accidental, but you guys are doing this what I would call at scale, and the information that you're gonna give to people will be invaluable. And even if somebody comes and they only get one home for themselves, like you said, those 100, it changes so many. So I appreciate you even having the audacity, some might say, to even do something like this and get men in that building that walk out of there that feel rejuvenated and that they can actually have a home. So I just really wanted to salute you guys because you could be selfish. You can just keep getting Benzes or Bentleys or whatever y'all got and $1 million home and not want to give the game to anybody and be selfish, but you're not. And I personally appreciate it, man. So I love being around y'all, just hearing y'all talk. I'm like, oh, man. I know I just made some money. I'm not really sure how, but I know this conversation. I know this conversation just grew me in some way. And we would be remiss, Mr. Shelton, if you didn't give them all the details, if they need to follow you on something, how they can register for the event, et cetera, because I know everybody is not, has not signed up yet, and they still have an opportunity to be there.
Yes, sorry. Actually, my day job was texting. But no. So Black Men Buy Houses, the event is available on Eventbrite. The tickets are free. We're not charging for this event. And I know people who pay attention. But I didn't want a $20 ticket to be the barrier for information that could change people's lives. So for me, I always thought of this as a free event. So please go register, get your ticket while they're still available. We got over 500 people. We had to expand the capacity.
Wow.
That's
We had to get them to let us have more seats. So I am so thankful for each and every one of y'all, plus my wife who's not here, but for being a part of this,
Ms.
for
Shelton,
believing
thank you.
in this crazy idea of seeing a bunch of Black men in a room and talking about houses, which I know we're all passionate about, but there's very few conversations that get to extend to that big of a group, especially folks who otherwise, unless they see us do it, because representation matters, they wouldn't do it. And it makes a difference hearing it from each and every one of you that they can buy a house, that they should buy a house, that it's valuable to them, that it would make a difference in their lives. And I think at the end of the day, will make a difference.
And I just want to say, one, I want to commend you and Aisha for coordinating and putting this event together, echoing Matt Hatter's sentiments. A statement I'm very fond of, it says, one person with courage is a majority. And I think this event represents that. And I just want to say this to all the people that will watch this in advance of the event. Any young Black man that you know that may not be privy to this event and or information, we ask that you share it with them and bring them out as well, because we definitely want to have as many people in this event to be impacted with this information. Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks. Yeah. Go ahead.
And for me, I just want to encourage the people to come out and just a reminder, what's done in the dark shall come to light. So all the hard work and dedication you have put in thus far, and it seemed like no one has noticed it. It seemed like you got that credit score up to 580 and you almost to that. Well, is 580 good to buy a house now?
FHA?
Oh, okay. Well, let's do 550 then. Do you got your credit? You got your credit score at 550. You trying to get up to that 580. Remember, what's done in the dark shall come to light. Continue to pay off, right? Continue to work on your credit because in due season, you shall have light, and your light is your first home.
Well, that boy spitting balls over there, boy.
I got
don't know if you practice these lines. I ain't know we supposed to come with practice lines already, but all right.
Be freestyling that.
You can always tell Andre gets this like glazing thing.
Yeah.
He's gonna go there. He's gonna go in. He's gonna go in.
He's making face.
Yeah, I'll say close it out. When you come to this event, don't think you're walking out by yourself. You're walking out with a whole network of new people that's in your circle that can help you. Whatever questions you have, there'll be somebody in the room that can help you answer that question, help you get to the next stage, help you get to that closing table eventually so you can become a homeowner.
All right. Man, this is your show.
Listen, when I
started doing it, I was the one that asked to do this, and then it turned into Kevin's show. I'm like, you know what? Okay, yeah, but this is cool. And I'm like, I know I was asking questions, but I feel like the guy out of pocket here, the previous DJ, that's really, I just feel lucky. I know this sounds crazy to y'all. I don't care. I just really feel lucky to be in the room with so many accomplished young brothers. And it's exciting to see. It's exciting, the event that you're putting on. To me, it really, really is. And, you know, because of the pandemic and social media, we got a chance to see a lot of you brothers doing things. Like I didn't even know this cat lived in Houston at first. I just saw him on, I just saw him on social media. And then because somebody I work with said your name, I was confused. I'm thinking he lived in Philly. I don't know what I was thinking. But it's amazing that you got so many accomplished brothers right here in the city doing big things. And we need to know that they are here doing big things, not just rapping or singing and anything like that. And I love all that in playing sports, but we need to see brothers doing other things, making a ton of money, that you can be something different. And so when they see that, and they see you right here, and you from 5th Ward, and you from 3rd Ward, and they see that, they're like, he from 3rd Ward? I know him. I know I can too. So I just appreciate y'all, and I'm not closing out, Kevin. This is your thing today, and I'm not.
Every time you got the opportunity to close it out, just close it out, man.
Just give them all the information one more time. Y'all need to be there. That's the bottom line. Y'all need to be there, man.
Black Men Buy Homes, Marriage and Real Estate Podcast. All these amazing gentlemen who happen to be my friends. So, you know, I apologize. September 30th from 12 to 3. At the Power Center, formerly Power Center Community Collective, and that is a Black-owned building.
Yes, sir. Yes,
so
it is.
we are Black on Black in this thing, and we are going to make sure that we give not only the gems and the information, but the resources in the room. So please come out, show up. I know free events, people don't show up. You want to be in this room. If you are not in this room, what you're losing is for your future. We got houses. We ain't asking anybody for nothing. Like when I picked up the phone,
no nasty boy in like that, man.
I ain't asked anybody to put in. I was like, hey, we'll pay for what this is for you. I own plenty. They own plenty. We don't have to ask you. We are here to provide information to help you get to your next stop. So as a community, we go forward. And this is the Marriage and Real Estate Podcast. Follow us, social media, all that good jazz. Put it in the show notes because I don't do all that. What I do is build houses. Bye.